Steppenwolf Theater presents Windfall. It's a world premiere from Academy Award-winning writer and ensemble member Terrell Alvin McCraney. Windfall is about a Chicago father who loses his child in a clash with police. He's then visited by three strangers who advise him, take the cash settlement and get out of town. It's a communal experience created for this moment. Windfall runs now through May 31st. Don't miss this world premiere production and get your tickets today at steppenwolf.org.
We're not saying a visit to Bloomington, Indiana will turn you into a forest-bathing, sandal-wearing, dissertation-defending, stray cat rescuing, nonprofit starting, Monroe Lake paddling, guitar strumming, march organizing, vinyl listening, leaf watching, zen finding, coffee roasting, yoga practicing, beer drinking, bread baking, co-op joining, pottery throwing, vintage thrifting, bike everywhereing, art appreciating, farmers market shopping, biz thinking, football fan. But we're not saying it won't. Visit Bloomington. See how it inspires you.
Today on CityCast Chicago, property tax bills remain a headache for thousands and thousands of Chicagoans. Local prosecutors are discussing next steps in ICE investigations, and Unity Day is back in Inglewood this weekend. I've got all the details ahead. It's Friday, May 1st. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. If you've been rocking with us for a few years, these two voices should be very familiar to you. From the Chicago Tribune, AD Quigg is back in the building. Quiggs, how you feeling today?
Good.
There was a little pause there.
I think Monica and I are both very sleepy cats this morning.
Uh-huh. I understand that. It has
You
been a
can
very
tell.
long,
Oh my gosh.
very long and restless week. I'm right there with y'all. I had some long days this week. And so I hear you, and I appreciate y'all making time this morning to be with us. From Axios Chicago, Monica Ang in the building. Monica, thanks for being here. How you feeling?
I think I'll be feeling a lot better when I finish this muggo coffee and
Come on,
talk
you
to
got
you
your
guys.
coffee. I got my gallon of water.
That is a full gallon.
Oh, man.
That's why your skin looks so good.
You know, somebody noticed. Quiz, I feel like every time you are here, we are talking about property taxes. I remember when I asked you, what did you want to talk about today? You even apologized at the end, and you should never have to, because you've been one of the people who've explained why property taxes remains a sticking point for so many Chicagoans. You've discussed how important they are and why there's such a contentious conversation in budget battles. And today you're here to talk about what feels like a conversation we've been having for a while, which is these ongoing delays. So can you kind of remind me, how are, property tax bills on their best day? Like, how are they supposed to be delivered to folks? When were they supposed to be delivered to folks?
They're supposed to be delivered on time. And like most property taxpayers are used to a schedule, they budget for this schedule unless they're paying their property taxes through escrow. So last year they were significantly late. They're supposed to, this installment, there's two installments. One is like 55% of your previous bill. The next one is the rest. And that's usually like the shocking one if you just went through like a reassessment year. So last year they came out in mid-November. They're supposed to come out during the summer. There's a little bit of wiggle room in that summertime bill delivery. And then the next installment typically comes out in early March. They delayed it to give people more breathing room between bills. But for like a specific subset of taxpayers, for a bunch of different complicated reasons, there were about 8,000 of them that did not get their bills on time back in that November-December cycle and are still waiting, even though we've made it past another cycle. The treasurer's office has been like slowly chipping away at these, but this is all part of like a much larger problem that has been going on for roughly a decade, with a really problematic tech upgrade over at the county.
So this tech upgrade has been happening over a decade?
Yes, haltingly, yes. So this is with Tyler Technologies, which is a Texas-based contractor. They are like the big dog in government tech contracts, in part because they've bought up every other smaller government tech contractor and kind of like wrapped them into their umbrella. The county contracted back with them in 2015 to upgrade all the property tax office software so that like all the different property tax offices, the clerk, treasurer, assessor could all talk to each other. And we're using the same data, and to get the county off of mainframe technology, which is like old. The people that know how to code on it are dead or retiring. So they were like, we got to get off of this old system. We should get on a nice new spiffy one where all of these different offices can talk to each other. But there have been delays, problems with data, lots of finger pointing over whose fault it is that data isn't working, why testing isn't working, who gave what instructions when. And that has just led to continual problems and delays as we get through all these different portions of the property tax cycle.
Monica, I want to bring you in here.
I love talking property taxes.
Okay. Some people may remember this specific point coming up during the primary election season, because Alderman Riley was really trying to saddle Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle with the blame here. You know, who is to blame? I mean, 10 years to upgrade software. I mean, I hate when my computer or something needs to upgrade, you know, for more than an hour. I understand this is countywide. A lot of people are involved here. That feels excessive, right? Who is to blame here, if anybody?
Yeah, a 10-year headache. Obviously there is as AD said, a lot of finger pointing. It's the treasurer, it's the board of review, it's the assessor, it's Tyler Industries. I would point the finger at Tyler. I mean, if they were supposed to upgrade, why does it feel like a downgrade? And I'm doing thumbs downgrade. Why is it that, thousands of people are still waiting for their bill? Oh, look, full disclosure, I'm still waiting for a, what is it called, certificate of error that they promised like 3 years ago.
Are you?
I
called you.
Once a month, I write, hey, how's that going? And I get the same, we're working on it. Like, what the heck? I feel like swearing like Maria Pappas.
And it feels like maybe sunk costs in some respects that we can they not reverse course? Are there no competitors in this space? Because I know you mentioned they are like, maybe the top player in regard, but like, is there no, in the contract that they signed, is there no recourse here for the county?
So the recourse is so tiny, like less than $1 million, even though this is like a multi-million-dollar between like the actual Tyler contract, other contractors to babysit and project manage, the cost of keeping the mainframe going, the cost of like bringing back retired people who know how to work the mainframe. The damages clause in the original contract is so small that it's like not worth it, essentially, to go after Tyler in court. And many other jurisdictions have gone after Tyler in court. Most have settled. And the county actually did look at bailing on them back in 2019, 2020. And there was like a grab bag of options that they could have subbed one contractor in to do this part, another contractor in to do this part, but it would have taken as long as the rest of the Tyler contract was supposed to take and cost roughly as much, maybe a little bit more based on like current projections. We are past those timelines and dollar signs, essentially. We're not done. So something that President Preckwinkle said a lot during the campaign was like, we're essentially getting past this. Like we can deliver bills. Things are pretty good. We're nearing the end of this, but there are still modules to be built by Tyler, and their contract is supposed to run through the end of September. Depending on who you talk to, there's like cautious optimism that they do get that stuff done. And of course, there's always people who are like, they've been saying 2 more months, 3 more months for several years. We have little confidence in that. Tyler has said throughout that they're working with what they've got, basically. Like, these are very old systems. They're very old ways of doing business. Like, all of these offices are pretty set in these procedures that they've used for years and years. And I think, like any system that gets built, you've got Ted from accounting that did a little fix in 1987 that has just stuck around forever, that is hard to like detach. And that's like the source of most of these problems. It's like one part of the equation in a very long equation of putting together someone's bill isn't adding up. And they've had to manually go back and figure out like, oh, that was that thing that Ted did.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Understood. So in the meantime, in between time, for the people whose bills are late, is it like, hey, there's no relief in sight. You got to
pay within 30 days. And then after that, interest costs add up. My question for the county is going to be, all right, are all these people going to get a bill 30 days, a bill 30 days, a bill 30 days? We're going to have to see what the timing is like. And of course, another story I did a few weeks ago, it looks like the next round of bills will be at least a little delayed, in part because of these troubles and a separate certificate of error and like appeal process that reopened later than scheduled. So like everything in property taxes happens on a rolling basis.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go back and say, wait, we're going to open up an additional, this was the Board of Review, adding an additional appeals window, it kind of like resets the clock for everybody else.
Monica, did you say that they are going to be sorting out the certificate of error process, which is when
Yes.
they screw up your taxes and they say, okay, my bad, we're going to officially tell you and we're going to pay you back. And it's...
Get a refund.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's, in addition to these late bills, which is like a minuscule portion of like the 1.8 million parcels that exist in Cook County, they have a backlog of 91,000 tax refunds totaling some $200 million. Jeez. So I've been getting tons of emails from folks who are like, can you check on what's going on with my refund?
They're turning to you. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, this is like, I know I apologize for always doing property tax stories. I do report on other things, like I know other stuff, but this does feel like one of the most useful times in my career in terms of being able to like help people navigate a civic process. So yes, people are turning to me to be like, what the heck is going on? Because sometimes they're calling the treasurer's office and the treasurer's office can't tell them anything and they're not going to walk them through a 10-year history of this tech contractor that hasn't gone well. So they are also chipping through that backlog of refunds. They can't do it in huge batches like they normally do. They do it in batches of like 150 or 200. But when you have 91,000 to work through and a bunch backlogged at the assessor's office, because during all this Tyler drama, the assessor could not process certificates of error, like they couldn't go through and actually check if you deserved one or not. So that like as the assessor's office works through those, the approved ones get sent to the treasurer and the backlog just keeps on getting bigger. So like we checked on this 91,000 number a couple weeks ago, it was 80,000. So like
Nice.
they're chipping through little by little, but it gets bigger because like you got more stuff incoming.
So what I'm hearing is next time you're here, you have maybe some update, but slow progress is better than no progress in this respect.
Yeah.
Now, if you are like me and you love theater that sparks conversation long after the curtain call, then listen up. Timeline Theater is bringing An Enemy of the People to the stage this spring, and it's the Chicago premiere at Timeline's new home at 5035 North Broadway in Uptown. This gripping play tackles big questions about truth, integrity, and what it costs to stand your ground when the entire crowd turns against you. Even though it's a classic story, the issues feel urgent, modern, and let's just say very Chicago. An Enemy of the People runs May 6th through June 7th, and it's the perfect choice for anybody who wants theater that challenges, provokes, and entertains all at once. Get your tickets and details at timelinetheater.com. The Pulitzer Prize and Tony Award-winning musical South Pacific is coming to the Paramount Theater in downtown Aurora, and it's got everything folks have come to love about the World War II drama. Spy missions, captivating love stories, and of course, all the classic songs like Some Enchanted Evening, Bolly Hey, I'm Gonna Wash That Man Right Out of My Hair. South Pacific is running from April 29th to June 14th at Paramount Theater, and tickets start at $31 when purchased in person. There are additional fees when you buy it on your phone or online. You can get your tickets today at ParamountAurora.com. Monica, this week you have been covering whether or not local prosecutors are going to move forward with investigations in the follow-up of Operation Midway Blitz. I want to be clear with people, though, the height of that was some 6 months ago. We saw how they terrorized our neighborhoods. DHS ICE agents remain here. Recent reporting say they are carrying out some of these targeted operations on people still at courthouses, going against some of the rulings of federal judges. So, Monica, that begs the question: what are prosecutors here going to do? We've heard what the mayor wants, and we've seen pushback out of the state's attorney's office. What's next?
Well, the Illinois Accountability Commission, which is one of several groups that are trying to tackle, like what the hell happened 6 months ago, and can we ever get justice and accountability for what people allege were crimes by federal agents? No, there's not a ton of agreement even within Cook County, which is, or certainly within Illinois, which can be a problem, but there are a lot of people like this commission saying, we're gathering all the videos, we're gathering testimony, and we're presenting it. And as we speak this week, the commission is going to submit its report to the governor and then submit all these packages of testimony and video, including body cam video and sometimes never before heard testimony by eyewitnesses, to local police departments. And why that's important is because Eileen O'Neill Burke's office, the Cook County State's attorney office, everybody's turning to her and saying, hey, these guys committed XYZ crimes against me. Why aren't you investigating what all these federal agents did? And so they're saying you're not acting. So there's a petition in court to say, step aside, please, Eileen O'Neill Burke. We're going to appoint a special prosecutor who doesn't have the kind of conflicts you have. What are those conflicts? They say that she basically likes the feds too much. They point to a memo from her office where she was asked to sign on to basically a letter from Cook County officials saying, hey, Donald Trump, don't come in here and terrorize us. And a staff member from her office said, we're declining to sign because we would like to, quote, maintain our excellent relationships with federal agents. She was specifically referring to ATF agents getting guns off the street, but I think it was ATF and other federal agencies. They took that as smoking gun. See, you like the feds too much. You have a conflict. You can't do this. She says, I didn't sign it because I needed to remain neutral. If I ever do prosecute these, I don't want anyone waving around this letter and saying, look, you hated Trump's administration from the beginning. You can decide whether that's here or there. But but her main point is, she says, I can't launch an investigation. I have to piggyback on someone else's investigation. So CPD or Franklin Park has to launch an investigation into the fatal shootings or nearly fatal shootings that happened with Silverio Villegas Gonzalez and Marimar Martinez. And then I could jump onto those. And they were almost like, so I wonder why no witnesses ever complained. If nobody's complaining, what are we going to do? And the other side is like, what are you talking about? You could find tons of video and tons of evidence just by opening up your freaking Instagram feed. They said it's staring you in the face. And so you know what they said? For weeks and weeks at a That's
time,
all you had in your feed.
I couldn't open my feed without seeing neighborhoods, tear gas, people being pushed down, shot in the face with pellet guns. The number of times that I saw people who were just standing in front of a car, the car quickly moving through them. The number of times I saw multiple agents descending on elderly folks, we're calling BS on this one.
Well, so do you know what the attorney for the Cook County State's Attorney's Office said? They said, we can't be, quote, scouring the internet trying to find some videos and evidence. And then the courtroom just erupted in laughter. Like, really? Did you just say that in order to find any of this evidence, you'd have to be scouring the internet? So
they said we can't investigate to investigate. What do you mean?
Right. It would be so hard to find this. So, I mean, this week, the Illinois Accountability Commission is going to be handing over these beautifully manicured packets of information and saying, guess what? We've just built the case for you with all this evidence. Now you need to act. Whether or not they will, I don't know. I call the Chicago Police Department a lot to ask for information. One of my former Tribune colleagues is one of the PIOs there. They usually get back to me right away. It's been 5 days, 6 days now, since I've asked, hi, can you tell me how many investigations you have launched based on complaints from Chicago citizens, Chicago residents about federal agents? Total freaking complete blackout. I wrote back. I finally said, okay, if this is how you're going to play it, I'm going to say in my story that after multiple attempts to ask a basic question to CPD, they completely iced us out. They would not answer how many investigations they've launched and B, why they've never referred them to the state's attorney's office. There's a guy who lives down the street from me, Leo Feller, who said on the record at a press conference that he filed a police report, and at the time, CPD confirmed it, about trespassing, kidnapping, assault, and battery on his property. So there's at least one report in there. Why have they never investigated? Why have they never referred it to Eileen O'Neill Burke's office? So these questions are still up in the air.
Like this entire time Operation Midway Blitz was happening, and there were folks who were saying CPD should go out there and do something. It's like, at some, they're all cops at some point, right? And the prosecutor's office, as their memo said, I don't think they're moving with any type of caution. I think, Eileen O'Neill Burke is resistant to investigating, and I'm interested to see if a special prosecutor is appointed and what happens there. And at the end of the day, if anything comes from this whole thing, because I will say, at times it does feel like political theater.
Well, they had Miramar Martinez, the woman who was shot, 7 holes in her body, shot 5 times. And she kind of broke down on the stand. She started, getting emotional. And her lawyer said, I want to make it clear, this is not easy for her to come here. And I really encouraged her to come here because I told her, you guys are going to finally do something. And I really hope that after my client was shot 5 times, you are actually going to do something. But that still remains to be seen.
Quig, you wanted to remember 2 Chicagoans, Amisha Patel and Jeff Carlson. Can you tell us who these individuals were?
Yes. So Amisha Patel was a longtime executive director of Grassroots Collaborative, which is a coalition of labor and community groups. And she played a key role in a bunch of progressive fights that are familiar to Chicagoans that have been here for a long time. I wanted to highlight both of these folks. Jeff Carlson was a longtime Tribune copy editor. As behind the scenes people who have remade the fabric of the city in a way that doesn't get celebrated as often as maybe it could. Both of us, all of us here know how important copy editors are to making sure our stuff is bulletproof, fact checking,
saving our ass
multiple times a week sometimes, either typos or logical fallacies or big holes in your story, misspellings, accidentally killing someone, publishing an obituary that is not meant to be published yet, stuff like that. Jeff did it so seamlessly and kindly. You know how sometimes an error gets caught and someone could be like, can't believe you missed this one. Jeff was just he was there to protect you. And so talented and careful. He was like a forensic investigator, which is what a good copy editor is. But he and other editors should be celebrated more often for the key role they play in making sure that the news is accurate and airtight and a good historical record that future generations can rely on. I can't think of how many stories I've seen from archives where someone's name is one letter off and then you're down the wrong Google rabbit hole. Stuff like that. And he handled a lot of the Tribune's big stories over the years. So I wanted to give him his flowers. He was a really talented guy and did a lot for the paper. Born in Chicago, 1957, passed away recently. I just wanted to celebrate him. R.I.P. Jeff. Amish Patel, behind a ton of major pushes for labor and for workers. She led a push to raise the Illinois minimum wage, garnered outside support for CTU's 2012 teacher strike, fought for higher wages at box stores, big reformer on tax increment financing, an issue close to my heart. Sometimes these organizers don't get recognized as often as figureheads do. So she was close friends with she worked at SEIU for a long time, close friends with Stacey Davis Gates, now the head of the Chicago Teachers Union and the Illinois Federation of Teachers. People in powerful political positions don't get there without the help of organizers. And I think it's important to recognize those folks when we can. She passed away. Her funeral is Saturday, and I expect the mayor is supposed to speak at this. So she is getting her recognition. But I think it's important that folks know and hear about people behind these movements to, if they agree with these movements, to celebrate them, and to also like remember that it takes people on the ground who sometimes remain nameless to like get things done.
Yeah. And I mean, Carlson was just 68, Patel 50. As always, these are a reminder to
Too young.
Too young.
Hold on to the people you love, give them their flowers while they can still receive them. I really appreciate you taking time to speak to both of their legacies. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Go ahead and spring into history this month with the Newberry Library. Their newest exhibition on the Declaration of Independence will be on display all month long, including an original broadside printed in, get this, July of 1776. They also got public programs like a book talk on the role of coffee in the American Revolution and the role of beer in the country's founding, featuring beer releases by Funky Town and Soul Mega Breweries. On May 16th, check out the Planting Seeds Indigenous Zine Fest starting at 11 a.m. To learn more and register, visit www.newberry.org. Monica, your next story today looks at farmers in Illinois. A statistic I just learned, 76% of Illinois land is farmland. And from what I'm hearing, these farmers who are overwhelmingly voted for this administration, this regime, they now are pissed at what has happened since the second term has began. Catch me up here.
Well, Trump administration policies have hurt a lot of people, but ironically, it's rural America that may be bearing the biggest brunt of policies on tariffs and policies on the Iran war. The tariffs hit us hard. Illinois, as you may know, is the number one producer of soybeans in the United States, number two of corn. These two commodity crops were hit hard by the tariffs because usually we send a crap ton of soy to China. And when the trade war with China happened, we were at like zero late in the year in terms of shipments going out. And they're like, what the heck?
Those two crops make up 89% of what we're using that farmland for.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people who say we should be using it for food that we actually grow and put in our bodies, not in our gas tanks or in processed food or in high fructose corn syrup or as feed for animals. And they've got a really great point, because if we want to be self-sustaining, we should be growing things that we could like put in our salad bowl and eat. Yeah. That's another story for another day. At this point, our farm economy is sunk into these commodity crops, which have been really, really devastated by these policies. And so if the tariffs weren't bad enough, if these like plummeting exports to China weren't bad enough, the Iran war has stopped the flow of some really important fertilizer ingredients that will make fertilizer very, very expensive. Those who pre-bought it last spring before the war, last winter before the war, are in an okay position. But when they have to rebuy it again this summer or fall, they could be really screwed. Plus, they depend on diesel. Diesel prices have gone sky high. So the American Farm Bureau, the Illinois Farm Bureau, the Illinois Soybean Association, people who for decades, as I've been covering agriculture, have almost never had a bad word to say on the record about any GOP candidate or politician, are finally telling me this is really bad. The American Farm Bureau put out a report saying that 70% of its farmers say that they can't afford enough fertilizer. 6 in 10 said they've got worsening finances. And the Farm Bureau president, whose name I love so much, Zippy Duvall, and that is his real name, Zippy Duvall, said that, that farmers just don't see, they feel like they're in a no-win situation. And so at the end of each interview, I say, well, I know this is a sensitive subject, but rural America did vote for President Trump. Are you guys feeling like this was a bad idea? Did you anticipate any of this? And the most they would say is that they are really going to be looking for a change in this election. One of the Illinois Soybean Association guys said, I don't know if it's going to mean someone's going to go from Republican to Democrat, but he thinks that they just might not show up. And that, it sounds like a mild statement, but it's huge in terms of what these giant agri groups have told me in the past. I mean, they almost always said, whatever any Republicans do, it's great. But they are just getting their asses kicked by these policies. They don't feel like the USDA or the White House is really taking their concerns seriously.
And it doesn't seem like any bailouts are coming down the pike.
Well, they did have one really expensive bailout, but the Farm Bureau said that doesn't even cover, our losses, doesn't even begin to cover our losses. And again, I turned to Darren Bailey because he's the gubernatorial hopeful and he's a farmer. And he said, while President Trump works to undo 4 years of terrible economic and foreign policy decisions, so blaming Biden, he also needs to resolve the current war with Iran so we can lower fuel prices for all Illinois families. The best thing to do is for the president to finish a job. As we speak, I don't think the Iran war has been sorted out yet.
Let me check real quick. Nope. Yeah. Can I give one quick shout out to a great series of Tribune reports that Karina Atkins did last summer. If you're interested in like agriculture in Illinois at all, she did this incredible series about who owns the farmland in Illinois, what drives this crop selection. So by soybeans and like, why do we plant so many soybeans and corn as opposed to other stuff? How the work gets done. So like who is working at these farms and why grocery stores don't carry more local produce. Like why aren't we growing things that we could eat here? I think rural Illinois is underappreciated. And this was like a great, really insightful series that folks can read at any time and will be relevant.
We're not going to leave you on sour notes here. Every single episode of CityCast Chicago finishes with some good news. Quiz, what's your good news for us today?
The Broadway hit, Oh Mary, is going on tour across the country. I saw it in New York. It's like the most laughs per minute I've had in a really long time, like so hilarious. And the even better news is they are stopping in Chicago between January and February, which means that I could go see Oh Mary as many times as I want in the height of mayoral and aldermanic election BS and blow off some steam. I'm really excited.
Can you remind people what's the play about?
It is about Mary Todd Lincoln wanting to be a singer. That's like all I want to say about it.
I got you.
Because it's so much better if you go in blind. In this case, you know how like in scary movies, like once you learn the spoiler, you're like watching for things the whole time. Like you don't want to do that for this. Okay. It ruins the laughs. Like you got to go in. You could watch Cola Scola who wrote the musical, did an interview on CBS Sunday mornings, I believe. Watch that. And you'll get like an idea of like some of the jokes.
The late night interviews. You telling me I have to go see this one. I have to go see it.
If you don't like it, I'll be so disappointed. I'll be so sad. So I'll be like, I thought we were like this.
I thought we was here.
And we're here.
All right, there's some stakes. Monica, your good news is also a family story.
Yeah, in honor of International Jazz Month, Day, Year, I decided to dig into my family's history as a jazz and blues club entity. My great-grandpa, Joe Eng, who came to Chicago in 1911 after working in a laundry in Quincy, he owned a giant jazz club in West Garfield Park called the Golden Pumpkin. And he had Thelma Terry and her Playboys. She was one of the rare band leaders. You can find her music on the internet. And I only had a few postcards and, recollections from relatives about it. But
man, it looks like it was a huge spot. Like
capacity 2,000.
Balcony, chandeliers. Is this an entire dance floor?
Yep.
Like a stage for the bandstand. Like
house band every night.
2,000 capacity. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, that's what it said on the postcard. And then other articles said 1,500. But it was big. Okay. It became a roller rink. You'd like that. It became a roller rink after he got out of there in 1932. But The Sun-Times has recently put its archive online, and I was able to find all these articles about it and all these ads. And so I'm just so thrilled to be digging into another chunk of my family's history archive. But I've got a little article about the club and who played there.
This is fascinating. These pictures and postcards that you found are so cool.
Chinese restaurants, as I mentioned in the story, were seen as these risque, rave-like, underground, dance club-like locations. The Tribune, as I mentioned, inveighed against them and said we should be shutting them down. Chicago aldermen tried to shut them down. They said the Tribune in a 1910 editorial wrote more than 300 Chicago white girls have sacrificed themselves to the influence of chop suey joints during the last year after smoking, drinking, and becoming hypnotized by the dreamy, seductive music that's always on tap. Close them down.
I mean, that's like the best ad ever.
I know, really? Yeah. I'm going to get hypnotized by dreamy, seductive music after having some smoking and drinking and with some chop
Sounds
suey.
great.
Sign me up.
Sounds great. This white girl's in.
Yeah.
I'm going to close us out today. Imagine Inglewood is back with Unity Day 2026, and it's going down this Saturday outside on the Peace Block off 63rd Honoree. Community organizations, block clubs, and ward offices are coming together to clean up blocks, street corridors, and vacant lots. They're going to have some local artists out there. People can come help them restore and repair the nature park on the Peace campus. I've got all of the details. At this point, you already know where to find them. I want to give a huge thank you to our guest today from Axios Chicago, Monica Ang. Always good to see you, my friend.
Same here. Have a great weekend. Happy May Day.
And from Chicago Tribune, A.D. Quigg, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, especially on your birthday. I hope it's the best birthday ever and do something really fun this weekend and have the greatest time. Go Peppa Pig.
Hey, thank you so much. Before we get out of here, I also want to give a thank you to our new neighbors. Shout out to Chantel E. and Bethel K. Bethel wrote us a wonderful note. My former coworker, Pedro J.W., told me about this podcast last year. And once I started listening to it, I was hooked. Me too, Bethel. I listen to an episode every morning on my way to work, and it helps me orient myself with the latest news on the city, state, or even federal level. The guests are always great, from Brandon Pope and Xavier Ramey to Trina Reynolds, Tyler, and Myra. I love those very, very specific shout outs, Bethel, because those are some of my homies and I love them too. I love how local, smart, and witty every episode is. Shout out to Jacoby Cocker's podcast hosting skills. Oh my God. It's harder than people think. You know what? I'm gonna have to agree with you there. My favorite part of every episode is when he sings some good news. I look forward to it every time. Thanks for all you do. Bethel, thank you for listening to the podcast. Shout out to your homie Pedro for putting you on. Honestly, this really means a lot. Reading this on my birthday of all days is making me a little bit emotional, if I am being honest. To everybody who makes time for our podcast, yeah, I say it all the time, but it has been a really, really cool 5 years. I can't believe I get to do this day in and day out with the great people that I do it with. This team is so hardworking. They put themselves in this podcast. Honestly, it is a marvel to, on a professional and personal level, to get to watch these people work. And so I am just glad that they allow me to be in this position every day. And so shout out to our executive producer, Simone Alisea. I hope you are enjoying your vacation, my friend. This team could not survive without you. Our creative producers are Michelle Navarro and Emmy Mack. They are part and parcel of the reason our newsletter is so damn good every day, that this podcast sounds good day in and day out. Our audience development manager is Chima Okoro. Even in the few weeks that she has been here, it has been nice. I'm so excited to see how she helps this team grow. Our post-production, the people who help deliver this up to you. Shout out to PJ Shahamet. Thank you so much, PJ. We really appreciate you. Our roving producer this week, Francisco Kilgore. Francisco, thank you so much for being with us, man. We appreciate you. The music we all love is from Sam Thousand, All the Kimonos, and Mark Greenberg from the Mayfair Workshop. Hey, if you love the show, please share us with your people. be back here bright and early on Monday. And if you got $10 a month, go ahead and sign up to become a CityCast Chicago neighbor. We got an event right around the corner, and I don't want you to miss out. And we got a bonus segment next week. So I'll talk to y'all very, very soon. Peace.